Thank you for coming tonight and celebrating Carroll High School and our newest Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. I am Julie Staten Malesko, class of 1993, 2007 Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, and co-chair of the Athletic Hall of Fame. First, thank you to the administration and the Alumni Association for the support of the Athletic Hall of Fame. There is a lot of time and effort that goes into events like this, so we thank you for your dedication as well. We are here tonight because we all share a love of Carroll High School, or someone we love is part of the Carroll community. Like so many of you, Carroll has shaped who I am today, having blessed me with the tools that I still use in my daily life. Like today, when I wish I was able to recall more information from Mr. Sableski's speech class. I'll manage. I look back fondly on my years as a patriot, recalling Mr. Rakel teaching us about the French Revolution, Mr. Hofler asking me daily if my basketball team had won, and giving me an opportunity to talk about girls basketball, which in the 90s, early 90s, was still a foreign topic to most. I remember Mrs. Lane's gym class, Coach Spurl's cafeteria duty, which always included checking for uniform collars and boys' ties being tied tight enough. And, of course, Father Mike holding a joyful mass of all school in the gym. I could go on and on about my memories about Carroll High School, but I know my fellow patriots feel the same and have the same memories. And that is what makes us Carroll Patriots. As we gather here today to honor greatness in the Carroll community, I am reminded of one of my favorite quotes. Everyone has the fire, but champions know when to ignite the spark. All of the inductees today ignited the spark, their own drive and determination to be winners and to give their all. We all know athletes who separate themselves from the rest, and now you can include these inductees with that group. Remarkable achievements have been made by all. These coaches, volunteers, and athletes will always hold a very special place in Carroll history. I will get this evening started by introducing our first speaker. Anyone involved with Carroll High School these days can feel the excitement in the halls. We have already seen physical changes, updated cafeteria, classroom updates, brand new science labs, and athletic field improvements. Matt Sableski has been instrumental in making those changes happen. It has taken me 10 years or so, but I am finally getting used to seeing my fellow classmate and track teammate as principal. Carroll is blessed to have Matt, and we look forward to seeing what the future holds with you, Matt. Welcome, Principal Mr. Matthew Sableski.
Well, thank you, Julie, for that very kind welcome. I've been asked just to share a few thoughts, updates, if you will, about our alma mater. I want to start with, as everybody does, with a few quick thank yous. First of all, thank you, Cheryl McHenry and her husband, Bob Chevali, for being with us, as they are for all of our Hall of Fame events, being it distinguished or athletic. We're very, very grateful for you. I want to thank Julie, Chris Youngerman, Julie Whites, and everybody on the Hall of Fame committee for putting this together. Not just this evening, but this is a years-long process that goes into this, and it's a very special thing. So I'm very grateful to them. I would like to thank Greg Notestein for stepping in and saying prayer. I was a bit late. It's homecoming, so earlier I was taking pictures as a dad, and in a little bit I'm going to have to leave and watch the children at the dance. So I apologize if I'm in and out, but I want to thank you, Greg, for stepping in for that. And I want to give a special thank you and recognition to all current faculty, staff, and coaches that are here. Could you all please stand and be recognized at this time? Folks, I am not exaggerating when I say they are working miracles every single day. Being an educator in 2022 is unbelievably difficult work, and these people are the best at what they do. So thank you, all of you, for being with us tonight, but more importantly, for what you do each day. Okay, now I have to read, so I got to put my glasses on. We have a tremendous group of inductees tonight. We have standouts in wrestling, cross country, track, football, and basketball. All of you have accomplished great things on the fields and courts of play at Carroll High School and beyond. You excelled in the classroom, you became accomplished professionals. As a lifelong member of the Carroll community, I've had the pleasure of watching all of you in admiration. I can say with confidence that each of our inductees honored here tonight has impacted our community in positive ways and is most deserving of this honor. You know, high school is a time where we develop the whole person. It's not just about academics, obviously. There's lots of ways to do this. Things in the arts, service, are all important aspects of the high school experience, and they lead young people to future success. And I'm biased as an athlete and a coach myself, but I believe that of all the aspects of high school, I believe it's athletics where students can reap the most benefits. Lesson learned through sports about team, work ethic, commitment, adversity, confidence. These can never be taught the same way in the classrooms as they are in athletics. They're vital to a person's success in life, regardless of their pursuit. Athletics stir in people emotions that they did not know they even had. As Al Michaels has once said, sports can inspire perfect strangers to go hand in hand, singing and dancing into the streets. It is for this reason that we have a special Hall of Fame for our athletes. You exemplify the best qualities, and you are models to your families, to your friends, and all future patriots. We're going to hear about each of them tonight a great deal, so I've been asked to spend just a moment talking about our alma mater. I'm happy to say life is good at Archbishop Carroll High School, and we are fulfilling our mission each and every day. We boast the highest enrollment of any Catholic school in the Dayton area. Our students consistently earn national merit and other honors in academics, athletics, and service. Last year alone, our senior class earned $16 million in merit-based scholarships. We accumulated over 18,000 hours of community service that is completely voluntary. And our science department earned the prestigious Shaw Award. What's the Shaw Award? It's the state championship of science, and we've won it 2 out of 3 years. So congratulations to all of our scientists. I could spend hours talking about all the ways in which our students make us proud each day. But I want to talk just for a moment about mission and culture, because that's what's fundamental in this day and age. I often use the quote, maybe too much, from St. Augustine that says, to live a faithful life, one must always keep adding, keep walking, keep advancing. And you could say this about any type of success or progress. Our students at Carroll High School are evolving. It looks a little different around Carroll than it might have in your era. We are blessed at Carroll with great kids from great families with incredibly diverse backgrounds. This is what makes us rich and deep and passionate and hopeful. But sometimes this can wear on us, and it makes us tired, maybe a little sad, and not as hopeful as we want to be. Being a Catholic school, we can avoid some of the challenges that face education today, but certainly not all. Close to half of our students come from low-income families, and many come from difficult situations at home. However, all of our families, regardless of their background, come to us for help and for hope, and it is our mission that we have to give them that. We provide a strong moral foundation for our kids so that they go out and serve the world as disciples of Christ. We're doing that. We want to ensure that our kids are prepared academically to be successful in college or the trade that they choose, and we are doing that. And we must help our kids make good decisions with their bodies and support their mental health, and we are doing that. Finally, we have this amazing faculty that I mentioned before. They truly work miracles every day. And they're working these miracles in a campus that is rapidly improving. Thanks, Julie, for mentioning that. We're in the midst of a capital campaign that's yielded 6 new science labs, an expanded chapel, air conditioning, for those of you who can remember what that was like, and new windows and a beautiful new stadium. We still have much to do, but our progress has been extraordinary. Many of you here have contributed, and I truly say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Many of you have not been asked yet, and I say, we're coming. Pete Williams, where are you? Pete Williams over here is our Director of Advancement. Pete, stand up. Pete's sole job is to make sure that we have enough fuel to make sure that our mission gets fulfilled every day. He does an extraordinary job, and we need his work and everyone's help to ensure that our mission is fulfilled every day, and that generations of patriots to come will benefit from this education. The stakes are high, but we are up for the challenge. Every day we keep adding, we keep walking, we keep advancing, and as a result, our students are better off because they are at Archbishop Carroll High School, and our graduates and parents can be proud of the school that we all call home. We're patriots after all, and every day is a great day to be a patriot. Thank you all for letting me spend just a minute of your evening tonight. Have a great one.
On to the main event. We are very blessed to have a Master of Ceremonies who is witty, intelligent, kind, and who sets a great example for all Carroll patriots. She is a 1974 graduate of Carroll High School, a graduate of the University of Cincinnati with a degree in broadcasting, and for the past 20 plus years has anchored WHIO's New Center 7's evening broadcast. She was part of the charter class of inductees for the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame. She is here tonight with her husband, Bob. Please welcome our Master of Ceremonies, Cheryl McHenry.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. Actually, I'm in my 42nd year at WHIO TV. First 10 years or so as a reporter, and I've been anchoring since 1991. I know it's as much a surprise to me as it is to you that they still keep me around. When you've been around in local TV that long, people say things to you sometimes. Bob and I were in a restaurant not too long ago, and we had this nice young waitress named Chelsea, and she was very sweet and friendly and attentive. And at the end of our meal, she comes up and she says, "Can I ask you a question? Are you an old news anchor?" And I can see Bob out of the corner of my eyes getting very uncomfortable, thinking, what is Cheryl going to say? But I said, well, I do anchor the news, and I'm old, so yes, I'm an old news anchor. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I mean, you're not old. And then she tried to backpedal and say, I'm in nursing school. I don't watch the news. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. We're cool. And, I'm proud to say that it didn't affect her tip at all. We still left her $1. I love this event. I'm so happy to be here with all of you because, just like Julie and all of you, I love Carroll High School. I loved my time there, and I'm very proud to say that it's my alma mater. And I love sports. I'm a fan. I admire athleticism, and like a lot of people, I dreamed of being a great athlete, standing on the podium. Had they only had curling when I was in high school, maybe I would have excelled at something. But at this point, I've accepted that ship has sailed, sadly. I'll never be a great athlete. It's okay, I can handle that. But I thank all of the athletes in this room and all of those who were in school when I was for the thrills, the excitement, just for bringing us all together as a school and giving us something to cheer about. It was just wonderful. It's just so much fun. I love all kinds of sports, and the Buckeyes did win today, Bob? You were, okay. Okay, so I'm going to be in a good mood now. And if I've counted correctly, this is the 15th Athletic Hall of Fame. I remember the inaugural HOF almost 20 years ago. It was on a very cold winter night in the very warm Carroll High School cafeteria. And since then, I've emceed all but 2 of these. I had conflicts a couple of times, but I'm always really thrilled and really happy that I'm invited to do this. So thank you, Julie and Chris, who asked me to do this year, and Julie White's, the other Julie, 2 Julies, Julie squared. Okay, as I told one of my friends, he said, "Oh, I heard you're doing that again." I said, "Well, they know I come cheap. They feed Bob and me." And then I get to spend a fine evening with all of my fellow patriots, so what more could you ask for? As Matt mentioned, we have a total of 9 inductees tonight. Whoops. 6 are former standout athletes, 2 are being inducted as special contributors, and 1 an entire team. So let's get started. Our first inductee never went to Carroll, but his passion for sports made him a very important part of the school fabric. He was extremely influential in creating an outstanding women's basketball program at Carroll. Rob Berry was a father of 4. All of his kids were athletes, and when his oldest daughter, Chelsea, was playing basketball in the 6th grade, Rob realized Carroll needed a feeder program, so he started the Carroll Spirit program, which eventually grew to include girls from 3rd to 8th grades so they would be better prepared and used to playing together by the time they got to high school. Rob was a great coach for so many reasons. I mean, you can look at his stats, 75% winning record, numerous Coach of the Year honors, even a team that made it all the way to state and finished as a not shabby at all runner-up. But beyond his successes on paper, Rob knew how to deal with his players, and he knew as a dad that you couldn't treat everybody the same and get the same results. His wife, Kathy, says there was an outstanding player on one of Rob's teams who went on to play in college. And her college coach reached out to Rob and said, "How can I motivate her? No matter how much I yell, it doesn't work. I can't get her going." And Rob said, "Don't yell at her. That's not going to work with her. She doesn't respond to that." He suggested the coach try a different approach with this player, and it worked. And she went on to have a very successful college basketball career. Rob coached the Carroll women's team for 14 years, along the way coaching his daughter Brogan, who we'll also be honoring tonight. And he passed away in 2016, but if he hadn't, who wants to bet he'd still be coaching and still winning? The man who established the Carroll Spirit is no doubt with us in spirit tonight. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kathy Berry to accept Rob's induction as a special contributor to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame. Kathy.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I want to thank everybody, first of all, from the committee for doing such an awesome job in the communication and keeping in touch with us through this whole process. I especially think I know Chris really, really well these days. Her and I have been like besties on the phone and communicating, so that's an awesome thing. You guys have done a great job. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my family for being here. They've traveled far and near to support their father and their sister, and I appreciate that. I'd also like to congratulate my beautiful daughter Brogan on her induction tonight. I'm so proud of you. And I'd also like to give a huge congrats to all the other nominees tonight. It's awesome. And I'd especially like to give a shout out to Stanley Gaither, representing the class of 76. Way to go, bud. Unfortunately, Rob's mom was not able to make it tonight. Her and Rob's dad followed every basketball game that Rob ever coached, I think. They also followed a lot of our children's games and great supporters. So if you ever heard a lone voice in the stands yelling, "Call it both ways," then you are familiar with Rob's mom, because that was her, my son, and when he was on the soccer field, I go, "Can you hear what we're saying up in the stands?" He goes, "Just grandma," you know. So in his youth, Rob was very exceptional. He was an exceptional athlete himself. He, I'm guessing that's where my kids get it from. I don't know, I'm just guessing. In high school, he was an all-state in basketball and baseball. So he continued to play after we got married. He continued to play in a minor league team in the Dayton area. until we had our third child. And then I kind of coerced him into saying, enough is enough. I can't be dragging these kids everywhere. And he finally gave up his glove. But it was very soon afterwards he started coaching all of our kids in every sport, including basketball, soccer, and baseball. And as Cheryl was talking about, he was very instrumental in starting a lot of programs. So what it was is when our children got to a point, not just our children, but other children, he wanted to give them the opportunity to play at higher levels. So he was instrumental in starting the Beaver Creek Sox program, which is a baseball program that is still going strong to this day. And he also started the Lady Spirit program. His thought was, hey, if all the other schools can do this, why not Carroll? So we did start with one team, and then we ended up, by the time Brogan got there, we had 3rd through 8th graders. And so he just felt like, you know, we could do it. But the ironic part was, because we were so successful, Alter and CJ were calling us and saying, hey, how do you guys do this? What, help us start our own program. So naturally he did. So, yeah, so anyway, it was like his first year coaching at Carroll. His method to his madness paid off, because that was the year that several of his former Lady Spirit program girls, including Hall of Famer Katie Streck, finally started defeating a lot of big schools, a lot of big name schools. People were starting to take notice that Carroll was a force to be reckoned with at this point. No one would have ever thought that the very next year the girls ended up in district finals playing against Allison Bales from Beaver Creek. She went on to play at Duke, and then she also played in the pros. But believe it or not, she was scoreless in the whole first half. She hadn't scored a point. Yeah, and people were like, ah. We ended up losing that game by a few, but I think that's when Rob made his mark on the world and said, hey, we're taking Carroll up a notch, 2, 3, 4, as best as we can get. So under Rob's guidance, Carroll basketball became a well-known, especially at the state level. For many years, he took his teams to the district finals until 2011, when they finally broke through and made it to the state finals, only to lose by 3 points to a 3-time state champion. At that point, he was determined his team was going to bring home that trophy someday. Rob coaching Brogan was always a very dicey game, because he never tried to show any favoritism. But when things weren't going well, the person who always heard about it the most was her. Long bus drives home, and then the car rides home with him. They both would walk in, especially after a loss, and they would silently retreat to their rooms. I learned very quickly to keep my mouth quiet and never ask questions. Fast forward to Brogan's first year at Harvard, and they were playing out at CJ, and he decided to ride with me there and then ride with me back. Well, holy moly, they lost to CJ. That car ride was miserable. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I need to call Brogan and apologize for letting her ride home with him every other year. Did I ever apologize to you, Brogan? If I didn't, this is it, sweetheart. Rob was always a family man, and he truly considered Carroll women's basketball his second family. His memorial scholarship has already paid over $6,000 to students who have competed for Carroll going on to college. I know Rob would have been loved this evening, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, especially with his daughter. His daughter, who is his favorite player. Yeah, that's right, I said it. That was his favorite player of all time, and everybody else, they were players. He loved them all, but she was his favorite. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Berry family. We're really proud of Rob, and congratulations to him. Congratulations, Rob. My co-anchor at Channel 7, James Brown, not the godfather of soul, this is a big white guy. He does a monthly segment called Making a Difference. And he features people who do things to help others and contribute to their community, and they don't do it for money or accolades. They do it because they're motivated to make the world around them a better place. Our next inductee would have been a great person to feature on Making a Difference, because he did. Charlie Keller and his wife Shirley sent all 7 of their kids to Carroll starting in the mid-70s. That's also when Charlie started volunteering at Carroll. Now, with 7 kids to support, Charlie had a day job, oh yes, but when he got off work, he often went straight to Carroll. What did he do there? You name it. The ultimate utility man. He mowed grass, he fixed the mowers, he'd been a mechanic in the Marines, he could do just about anything, including carpentry. That nice football field that didn't cost taxpayer dollars, Charlie helped with the press box addition, facilitated replacing the wooden visitor bleachers, and worked at installing the aluminum bleachers. These were big projects. And when he was working on a big project, Shirley would often bring him dinner at Carroll so he could eat and just keep on working. He did a lot of other things, some big, some small, all important and valuable to a Catholic school trying to keep costs down. He striped the football field. He did maintenance on the concession stand, helped build the softball dugouts. Charlie's daughter, Darlene, says, "My dad was not an educated man, but he taught us a lot." What motivates someone to dedicate so much of their time? Darlene says for her dad, it gave him a purpose to get up and get moving, and it also gave him the opportunity to hang out with his good friend and other Carroll HOF member, Frank Klotz. They volunteered for over 40 years. Charlie did it all and wanted nothing in return, just the satisfaction of helping the school that educated his and Shirley's 7 children. And in so doing, he left a legacy that's still visible, and he did indeed make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dan Keller is going to come up. Charlie's son, Dan, to accept induction to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame on behalf of Charlie Keller.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the Hall of Fame. Chair for putting this on, and Carroll's administration. My mom and my sisters, nephews, nieces are all here as well. Brothers, sisters, brothers, you know. You got the last word, maybe. Dad's probably up above us with Frank looking down, asking, why are you guys doing this? Dad and Frank were the John Madden, Pat Summerall football stadium maintenance, or the Statler or Waldorf of the Muppets. You choose the two. Stewardship. Dad and Frank and all the volunteers were great examples of Carroll High School stewardship. They volunteered because they loved doing it. I think that was one of the best things Dad loved about going over to Carroll High School. What do you need done? And Frank and the group of volunteers would get it done. Peter, verse 4:10, each of you should use whatever gifts you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. That was Dad and the volunteers and Mom. They led that. That was a great example for us all. There were a group of volunteers I'd like to recognize. Not that they haven't been recognized in the past, but there's a group probably for 20 years that took care of the stadium. Frank and Lois Klotz, Gary Phyllis Ruber, concession stands, Lee Miller, Bill and Jan Sheets, Taylor and Carol Cardwell. Taylor worked for DPNL, bring the boom truck over and we'd replace the lights, paint the flagpole. Vince and Fran Russo, Leo and Marlene Knoll, soccer parents, Red West, Ed Heigl, Jack and Pat Glacier. Mr. Bartlett, not Steve Bartlett, but Mr. Bartlett would come out and help paint, stripe the fields. So there were many other families that I haven't mentioned, but you know, they were all stewards. It was one group of people making Carroll better. So hats off to them. Several things Mom wanted to mention. Cutting grass. Dad would cut grass on Thursday nights before the night before the football games. And when you get done, I don't know if this was a Ted Lasso episode, but Scott, soccer coach Scott, would come out and say, please cut it shorter. He didn't like the length, but you know, Frank had other names for the soccer team, which I won't mention, Scott, but in respect to Frank, this was a football stadium field. So that one's for you, Frank. During the Patriot Wrestling Tournament, Purcell High School bus wouldn't start. This is February, winter. Dad crawled under the bus, took the starter out, got it running, and Purcell made it home. This is a guy that would help anybody. The wooden bleachers, those bleachers came from University of Dayton. They was donated when the stadiums were built. Each year, the volunteers come out, painted the bleachers, replaced the wood, and the state insurance company condemned them. So within 5 months, the group of volunteers had them tore down, foundations poured, and the new bleachers in place before the first football soccer games. See Mr. Kuntz back there, I think he remembers some of that. Dad's been through the 40 years, 3 athletic directors, 6, 7 football coaches, 3 principals, many people. Dad's worked with them all and would do anything for them. 40 years of labor would cost around about $800,000. 40 years, 6 lawnmowers, 3 painting machines, about $35,000. GCL, WL, MML, 4 different leagues, Greater Catholic League. Stewardship, friends, and lasting relationships, priceless. This is what they created at Carroll High School. With that being said, Mom and Dad's left their stewardship values to the whole family. I know there's a group of them that still paint the fields, help with the dugouts. The nieces and nephews are coaching. So the Keller legacy will go on, hopefully for another 40 years at Carroll High School. So the Kellers, Humberts, Herons, and the Rosses all thank you, Carroll High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and congratulations, family of Charlie Keller and all the other volunteers who do so much, the stewards, as you call them, and congratulations, Charlie. And are you going to send Carroll a bill for that? That was in the neighborhood of $1 million. Matt's about to leave real quick. All right. Our first individual athlete inductee this evening is the longest overdue, in part because he graduated the longest to go. Stanley Gaither was part of the class of 1976. Stan the man was fast, really fast. But he was not only blessed with natural ability, his older brother Michael says Stanley trained harder than anyone else. Michael says their family lived in Xenia, and when Stanley was in grade school at Wilberforce, Stanley went to grade school at St. Bridget. Am I accurate on that? Thank you. I don't like to be inaccurate, despite what people may think. And Stanley would train by running a dauntingly named hill in Wilberforce called Devil's Backbone. Michael says Stanley wanted to play football at Carroll, and before he even started his freshman year, Michael learned from the late coach Jim Spurl that football practice started August 1st. So Stanley showed up that day. Turned out that was the first day of practice for varsity football. Keep in mind, Stanley was a skinny incoming freshman, and you just have to wonder what went through Spurl's mind. But then Coach had everyone run the 440-yard dash, what we now call the 400, 1 lap around the track. Stanley ran so fast he blew everybody else away. Michael says his brother was easily 30 or 40 seconds ahead of everybody else. Stanley did go on to play football later, lettering twice and finishing with 36 career receptions and 549 yards receiving. But Stanley Gaither's biggest athletic accomplishment was in track. He went to state his senior year. finished fourth in the 200-yard dash, and still holds the Carroll record in the 200. Michael Gaither, who surprised Stanley tonight by coming in from Virginia. Nice move, Michael and Mary. Michael says Stanley was, and I quote, the fastest person in Dayton his senior year, running the 440 in 48.8. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Stanley Gaither, class of 76, to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame.
Good evening. You know, my brother showed up on me. I had no idea that he was coming from Virginia. He flew in on me. I guess that's what doctors could do. He always told me growing up that I was going to be poor and had to live with him. So in all his residences and there's been many, that he's purchased and still probably rents out and he wanted to be a millionaire one day, he accomplished that. But he worked himself to death to where he had to have a heart transplant. And that's for real. But he always had a room for me in his home. And he says, every time I went to visit him, he showed me my room. It was so ridiculous in Tennessee, he built a mansion. The whole first floor belonged to me. I just said, maybe I should be poor. My time at Carroll in the beginning was an experiment. My brother led the way, and the experiment was Carroll was going to integrate, and I was one of the experimentals. And it had a rough, rocky start, but something our principal said the other day, it's about the culture. It's not about me. It's about what Carroll is and how it affects its students. I'm a part of Carroll. I'll always be a part of Carroll. I love my high school. We had a rough and rocky start, and the ice was broken by our cheerleaders who created a cheer for me playing basketball, saying, jump, Stanley, jump, get off of your feet, because I could jump so high. So the ice was broken, and sooner as the years started going on, I started gaining more and more acceptance. I said, oh, this is not bad. On top of getting a first-rate education. Let me tell you something about the education. I went to Central State University on scholarship, track and football. My first year only had to take one class in my first semester. Why? Because when I went into the classrooms, they were using the same books that we used at Carroll. And I just said, wait a minute, I know this is a poor college, but this is ridiculous. And I told the teachers that. They said, well, if you can test out of this, take the final. If you can test out of my class, you don't have to attend. We'll just give you a grade at the very end of the semester. I said, okay. I took the test, and I aced every one of them. I took one class. So I got me a job in Dabney Cafeteria, washing pots and pans and putting some nice pennies in my pocket. That's what I did in between football. As far as football was concerned, I learned there's a big difference between college football and high school football. In college football, everybody's trying to get into the NFL. I don't like football anymore. They hit so hard. And like Cheryl told you, I was a skinny 175 guy, even though the press said I was 195, 205, and 215, and everywhere else when they wrote my article about signing a scholarship there. I was a tiny guy. But it wasn't about what I learned most at Carroll. And let's focus on there. Out of all the accolades, out of all the championships, the records, even the record that stands today, it's not about me. It's not. In 1974, April 3rd, my father's birthday, the worst tornado that hit, and it was a world record for a while, hit Xenia. 33 people were killed. Xenia was destroyed. My grade school was destroyed. And I was attending Carroll, 1974. Couldn't get to school that day, and that's what I was thinking about, the project that I had due at school in film class. But we did find the back roads, and we made it there the second day. And I was greeted by the student body that hugged me, that loved me, that cried with me, because they all thought I was dead. There was a track meet that day, and they wanted to cancel the track meet. I said, no, I didn't get all this way to come and not run. The amazing thing is, a year later, remember, April 3rd, 1974. By 1975, 80% of Xenia had rebuilt. All of downtown, most of the houses, they had rebuilt. That was the culture back then. Our principal talked about the culture when I visited the school the other day. The culture at Carroll has changed. It's grown. You know, sometimes you run into bullies. And my father said, find the biggest one, stand up to him, be ready to fight. Well, I did that. And we ended up as best friends. We never had to fight. He just wanted to see if I was a coward or not. And he was one of my football teammates. He went on to play for Ohio State. It was beautiful. In 1976, we had the district finals. And I ran the 400 meters. I broke the district record in the semifinals, running a time of 48.8, which a lot of the coaches were upset about because I beat the guy who also was given the identical time, Buck Buchanan, of 48.8. Now, how do we both run the same time of 48.8 when I beat him by 4 or 5 feet? All the other coaches had me at 47.9. But that's neither here nor there because it's not about me. My brother talked about me getting up early in the morning. And I did train harder than anybody else. I ran the Devil's Backbone, which is 5% upgrade, 6 or 7 times, 3 times a week. I get up in the morning before the sun came up and run 4 or 5 miles, only at the very end to be greeted by the farmer's old hound dog that would chase me almost all the way home. And this happened year after year for at least 2 years until I turned around one day and the old hound dog didn't have any teeth. Why in the world was I running from this dog? And the thing I learned about it is how to dig deep when you're tired at the very end of the run and this big old ugly dog is after you. You learn to dig deep and run faster. But he didn't have any teeth. In the finals, I ran a 21.6 in the 200 meters. But it wasn't about me, and it wasn't about a district record. It was about the culture. It was about my teammates. It was about the school that I represented. I was very happy to be called a Carroll Patriot. I wore the uniform proudly. So proudly that when that graduation time came, after the district finals, I didn't have a chance to get to graduation and change into a suit that my mother had just bought for me. I had to keep on my Carroll track sweatsuit and uniform. But everybody knew of these records I had just broke and these times that I had just ran. But the joke was on me. Because when I went up to get my diploma, they made me take off my graduation robe. To a standing ovation, they told them, what had happened, it's about the love. The love I received that night, I'll never forget. Lastly, there was a young man that was my escort. And Michael, since you helped induct me, will you come over here for a second? This is my brother Michael, Dr. Michael Gaither. Right here. He's always had me fetch for him. Stan, will you get me a Diet Coke? Stan, will you do this? Well, Michael, I'm going to ask you to hold this for me. And I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to ask you to hold this for me. Now, this young man who was my representative, his name is Jeff Agnew. And when I came up into Carroll High School, I hadn't been there for years, he greeted me. He greeted me. And shortly, the principal came and shook my hand. And they presented me with a T-shirt. And he said, now you belong to us. You belong to this house. And so this young man who escorted me across the field the other night at the football team gave me this T-shirt, I said, and wore a tie in the cold for me, and he belonged to the Baltimore house. So tonight I want to say, this is my house.
All right, well, our next inductee comes from the class of 1998 and was a three-sport athlete in football, wrestling, and track. He earned 8 varsity letters, 4 of them in wrestling, in which he had over 100 wins, was a co-captain, and helped lead the team to the state championship, which you'll hear more about later. His longtime friend and former teammate Joey Morrow says, despite Greg Terbay's success in wrestling and football, in which he earned 3 varsity letters, Greg is most proud of the track and field letter he earned as a league place winner in the pole vault. True? Greg also was awarded the prestigious Patriot Award. But beyond that, Joey says, Greg is the definition of a true friend. He's loyal and one of those people that raises up everyone around him. He's still close with his fellow grapplers, Joey Morrow, Andy Clemens, and Andy Wiley. Note, 2 of the 4 are named Andy. They like to call themselves the 3 best friends in Andy. They are also part of a made-up air band called the Whatnots. And Joey says they're still looking to book their first gig. If you're interested, you must be really desperate. Seriously, Greg overcame hardships, including what Joey says was a devastating senior year injury, but he was always still there for his teammates and did not let adversity defeat him. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Greg Terbay, class of '98, to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, everyone. I didn't realize that I had to follow Stanley. But luckily, I wore my singlet. I did not, actually. Anyway, I'm going to do my best. This is going to be a tough act to follow, let me say that. First, I want to say thank you for this great honor. It is an honor, and I'm very, very proud to be here. Congratulations to all the other inductees as well. While writing the speech, I got to thinking about a lot of the memories from high school, and I recalled some great times. The smell of the football field on a cool Friday night, lacing up the wrestling shoes on a mat right before a big match, singing California Girls on the bus freshman year to football games, wrestling sleepovers where when they say you can't eat another bite, that's actually true. We could not eat another bite. No matter what the sport was, on our way home from whatever the event was, as soon as the bus hit the McDonald's arches, we started singing the alma mater. How about running to the victory bell after a big victory and ringing that thing and ringing it until I thought it was going to crack. Never did. As I was thinking about that memory, I also thought about I never rang that bell alone. Never once. Never rang it by myself. Always had a team there with me. And that was the important part. It's all about the team. Whether it was track, football, wrestling, always had the teammates beside me. I lost my place. Sorry. That's right. Ah. Victory bell. That's right. Got it. All right. Oh. That's right. Oh, yeah. Sorry. But yeah. So when I was playing the sports, I never did it for personal glory or to hopefully be up here one day. I did it for my teammates. We all bonded together, and I can tell you, the teammates, I'm so proud to have so many of them here tonight with me and still call them my friends. I have quite a few people to thank tonight. I'll start with the committee. Thank you for the committee for selecting me and electing me into this great club. I'll next go to the people who have been with me the longest, my family. Mom and Dad, thank you for everything. The Miyagi training, the saving me when I was cutting weight by eating all the leftovers. You know, my brothers and aunts and uncles, thank you for traveling everywhere and watching me and supporting me. Remember all the Thanksgiving dinners I got to watch you guys eat? Me too. Yeah. Thank you so much for the support. Again, to the teammates that were always on my teams, thank you for holding me accountable and pushing me to my limits. Thank you to my friends, old friends and new friends. I have one that came all the way from Tennessee just to support me. Thank you, Jackson. I have a lot of coaches to thank as well. I'll start with Coach Gerhardt. The so many life lessons that he taught me to shape me into the man I am today. Coach Bob Franz. I remember he put his arm around me at an 8th grade open mat, and the CJ coach was standing there and said something about how I lived in the district of CJ, so I would have had to play for them. And Bob looked at him and said, "I'll fight you over this one." In that moment right there, I was a Patriot for the rest of my life. Coach Carter taught me the tilts and the funk. Thank you. Coach Nick Morrow taught me ACE, attitude, character, and enthusiasm. Taught me integrity. He gave me the tools to succeed to the next level. Coach Bartlett, I coach Pee Wee football now, and I often hear myself say the same things he said to me on the field, and I grin to myself every time. Coach Bartlett's had tens of thousands of athletes, but he's made every one of them feel very special. Coach DeSalvo, thank you for teaching me to lose like a champion. I remember there was a meet up in Medina, and I lost a match I probably shouldn't have lost, and I was not happy about it. You pulled me aside, and you told me, it's time to start losing like a champion, just like you win like a champion. Keep your chin up, get back to work. I tell kids that today, very same way you said it to me. Thank you. There's one other coach that I really need to call out and thank. Started my sophomore year banquet after I lost at districts, didn't make it to state because I got out-muscled. I went up to him and said, "Look, you're a big guy. Can you start lifting with me so that I don't ever get out-muscled again?" The very next day, we went to Moore's Gym. We bought memberships, and at 5:30 in the morning, every morning for the rest of my high school career, we worked out together. Over those years, we formed quite a friendship. What kind of friendship, you ask? Let me tell you. The day after a major surgery, he checked out of the hospital, broke out of the hospital, in nothing but his hospital gown. It's my story. I'll tell it how I want. Just to come watch me wrestle at sectionals. There's no way I was going to lose that day. Jeff, thank you for all the time you invested in me. Thank you to all the other coaches who have supported me along the way as well. Finally, I need to thank the most important person in my life. Not you, Joey. My wife, Heather. It all started on that fateful day, sophomore year class of religion, when I told you you had beautiful eyes. She's never left my side since. She's been there to support me, had my back through the years. She's even recruited her friends who didn't care for me very much at the time. Right, Gabby? To support me. She's my rock, and I don't know where I'd be without her. Thank you. And thank you to my kids, too. My favorite part of being your dad is watching you grow and learn and compete. It's an honor to be here tonight, and again, I thank everyone. And as always, it's a great day to be a Patriot.
Congratulations, Greg. And Heather, nobody ever told me in high school I had beautiful eyes, or I'd have been married a lot sooner. So congratulations to you. You know, it isn't often you hear someone getting 12 varsity letters, one for all 4 years in 3 different sports in high school. But our next inductee accomplished that impressive feat, and come to find out he was the first individual to do so at Carroll. James Borchers, class of '02, ran cross country all 4 years, wrestled all 4 years, and ran track all 4 years. Sounds like a pretty serious athlete, right? Well, that's the thing about James Borchers. His cross-country coach, John Agnew, said when he thinks of James, he thinks of fun. He says James had a tremendous sense of humor, and he kept everything light. Cross-country's hard, a whole lot of running, and James made it fun. And it's not that he didn't take it seriously. Oh, he worked hard. He was a great teammate, but Coach Agnew remembers how James really gave that team personality. As I mentioned, he excelled in other sports. He won honors in wrestling and track, too. In fact, when he graduated, he held a few records in track, including the 1,400 and 3,200-meter relays. He also served in the U.S. Army for 21 years, did combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and retired as a major. Thank you for your service. And as an aside, I recently learned by looking at a neighborhood newsletter that James and his beautiful family live less than a 10-minute walk from Bob and me. Who knew? So don't worry, we'll pay you a visit and we'll bring the snacks. And I may need a ride home if Bob doesn't come back. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming James Borchers to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. First, I just want to begin. Thank you to the committee, Chris Youngerman, Joe Morrow. Really appreciate, just all the love and support the past year. Carroll High School, Principal Sableski, wonderful tradition that you've started here. Just when I think about this event and coming back to Carroll, it's just nothing but family. It's, been most of my life. I think I started in the early 90s with the Patriot Wrestling program, training with Coach John, yourself, countless others, and it's the Carroll family. And I know Stanley had mentioned it about the values, but this is what you get. So I might have done a lot of this work, but it wasn't done alone. So this speech, like Greg had mentioned, there's a lot of thanks that need to be given. I just want to start first with my coaches, Coach John Agnew, Coach Carter, and of course, Coach Mark Gerhart. It's almost like a Rushmore. We're just one shy, but it's just, what a trio. I'm just so honored and blessed, very, very humbled as a young man to have been coached, mentored, and almost raised, by these men. So for that, the values and everything through the experience as a Patriot, as an athlete, I'm just so very blessed and fortunate. Shortly after I left Carroll, a lot of these values, skills were put to the test. Operation Iraqi Freedom, 18 months in the shit, excuse my language, but 22 years later, standing here, one piece, so resiliency is the word. If there's something that comes out of Carroll that these coaches, these men bestowed on me, and I certainly lived it. Never give up, adapt and overcome, and win, and that's the Patriot way. It's our country, that's how we operate. and the values here that we've learned and that I've learned and what I've heard today it's a powerful thing, and I'm certainly standing here a testament to it. So finally, I got to say a special thanks, of course, to my parents. My mom is here. Speaking of resiliency, she just, never a dull moment in the Borchers, so she survived Hurricane Ian last week. Spent a couple days in the airport trying to get up here, so we got her in last night. So, without her and her sacrifices and my dad's, I wouldn't be the man that I am today, along with those coaches and everybody here at Carroll. And speaking of my dad, this is dedicated to him. He was a great father through athletics. That's how we bonded. The last time I got a chance to see him, I didn't get a chance to be by his bedside when he passed. Almost a decade ago, I was in Afghanistan, and he said, James, I'm very proud of you for the man you become, and for all those family members that aren't here today, they're with us forever. This is what this night is about, too, and that recognition. So just he's always there in my spirit, as are those family members. So finally, in closing, there's an expression I've learned in my time in the Army, and it's pretty simple. There ain't no atheists in foxholes. In the darkest times, God was always there. God's always been there. From everything I've gone through, I thank God I'm a Catholic man. I have the values, and I've adapted to everything in front of me. And if I didn't have this relationship with God and what's been instilled with me at my time at Carroll, I don't know what would have happened, but I'm just, I'm very blessed, and we should all be very blessed. So for my experiences at Carroll, it's with me forever. Bottom line too, I thank God every day for the blessings. I have my beautiful wife, Jen, my 2 daughters, just a godsend, and been the greatest support a husband and father could ever want. In closing, I thank God I'm a patriot every day. God bless you all tonight, and really appreciate this. So thank you all. Thank you.
Congratulations, James. And please, once again, thank you for your service. We really appreciate you and everything you've done for us. Thank you. Remember that old commercial, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, and everyone in the spot would stop and freeze whatever they were doing to listen? Well, that's how his former coach describes our next inductee. Steve Bartlett coached Carroll football for 17 years, and he calls Jason Riggs one of the most intense people I've ever coached. He said Jason was not a real loud or real talkative kid, but when he did talk, he said everyone listened. He says the guys would have followed Jason to hell and back if he told them to. I asked Coach Bartlett, so what was it about Jason? He said it was his desire to win and his desire to do things the right way. Coach remembers a crushing regular season loss Jason's senior year and how Jason told him, Coach, I'll do anything to not lose any more games. He meant it. He worked hard, and Steve Bartlett says he made it real easy for a coach. The team did not lose another game in the regular season, and in the postseason, they got sweet revenge on that team that they had lost to. They made it all the way to the state semifinals, both his junior and senior years, and Jason was an integral part of the team's success in 2004 and 2005. In fact, in 3 years of high school football, including postseason games, Jason played in 41 games. He won the Patriot Award in 2005 and Athlete of the Year Award in 2006. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jason Riggs, class of 2006, to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you very much for that. All right, so I first want to start, this is going to be short and sweet. But I just want to start by thanking the Athletic Hall of Fame for this great honor. I'm very grateful to get to be up here. There's a lot of folks who have played before me and after me who I don't necessarily think that I match up to, but I'm happy to be here, so thank you for that honor. I also want to congratulate the inductees that are here tonight that I get to share tonight with. It's actually very special for me to get to share it with folks like Greg as well as the 98 class. I got to know those guys pretty well growing up. They were through my older brother, as well as being on the sidelines as the ball boy during football with many of them as well. So it's a great time to be able to share this night with them. The biggest thank you of the night goes to my parents. Unfortunately, my dad passed away shortly after high school, but he was very much proud of his kids playing sports. And I know he would have loved to have been here tonight. And to my mother, words can't describe the impact that you've had on my life. And I thank you very much for all that you've done. You've always supported me, and most importantly, you've always believed in me. So thank you. I want to thank my siblings, Joe, Jennifer, and Jim. I had the good fortune of being the youngest of the family, and in their words, the baby of the family. Regardless, besides the perks of being the favorite child, I was fortunate enough to have them come through school before me, and they each are incredibly talented athletes in their own respect. But I was fortunate to have them come through school before me and lay the groundwork. So really all I had to do was show up and perform. So thank you. I want to thank my beautiful wife and my 3 amazing young daughters. They are certainly what life is all about. They take care of me day in and day out, and my wife likes to remind me that I would be lost without them. I want to thank Coach Bartlett and the entire coaching staff that I had over the 4 years at Carroll. Those guys spent countless hours and an immense amount of effort working with us players. I am very grateful for the opportunity that they gave me to get on the field and make plays. And finally, but last but not least, I want to thank the great group of guys that I got to play with those 4 years. This was a group of guys who went undefeated as a freshman team and subsequently went on to play a big part of 31 varsity wins and 2 state semifinal playoffs appearances. I mention all that to say this. You don't achieve that level of success without a great group of talented players. I owe much of my success to those guys around me on the field, and I wouldn't be here tonight without them. My hope is that one day many of them get to share in the privilege of standing here tonight as I am now. Thank you.
Well, our next inductee made her mark, her really big mark, in basketball. Brogan grew up the youngest of 4 kids in the Berry family, all of whom were very athletic. No surprise, since their dad, Rob, was very athletic, and their mom, well, let's just say Kathy has found she's a pretty good pickleball player. Yes, she is. But it wasn't just genetics or natural ability that made Brogan such an outstanding athlete and basketball player. Her mom says it was her work ethic. She would always push herself. Her dad, who was also her coach, groomed her to be a true point guard, calling plays on the floor, almost like a second coach out there. It forces you to be a leader, and Brogan was. Her stats are so impressive. Among them, league MVP 3 times, player of the year 4 times, All-Ohio first team. Oh, and from 7th grade all through high school, she played AAU for the Dayton Lady Hoop Stars in the off-season. She didn't have much of an off-season. When it came time to go to college and play ball there, she got a lot of looks. Kansas, Michigan, Marist, Kent State. And the Ivy League came calling too. Harvard, Yale, Princeton. She wasn't too keen, she didn't think, on an Ivy League school. But then when she visited Harvard, her mom says she fell in love with it and the team. And so the baby of the family decided to go 12 and a half hours away and play ball at Harvard, where she started every game and also set some Ivy League records. This Harvard grad, Brogan, when she was in grade school, needed a little help with her reading. So she spent time every week with an intervention specialist. Mrs. Donauer still has Brogan's picture in her office, and when kids come to her for help, she points to Brogan's photo as a role model of what every student can accomplish if she's willing to put in the work. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for induction to the Carroll High School Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 2008, Brogan Berry Magnarelli.
Hello, good evening. It is such an honor to be standing in front of you all tonight. And honestly, all of the speeches have been truly, truly inspiring. So it's been just an honor to be here and listen to all of the other inductees as well. So it is an honor, but I am sad to disappoint. I'm not the first person in my family to be inducted into their high school Hall of Fame. My husband beat me by a good 6 years, so I will pick up my pride and try to keep going. But in all honesty, the honor of this induction didn't really quite hit me until I was writing this speech, and it kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable to receiving a personal reward when my success was, given to me basically by all those around me. It was supported by them all. So it was, my teachers, my coaches, my teammates, and especially my family here tonight. So I'm gonna take a stab at each of them and thank them. First, my brother, my big brother, Brendan. He instilled an almost unhealthy obsession with sports in our family. He liked to educate me on and off the court, especially about basketball, and he was a truly good example of what a dedicated athlete was. My sister Chelsea, who taught me how to be a good, well-rounded human. She not only taught me to give my all on the court, but she also encouraged me to get involved at school and my community. She was the one who encouraged me to join clubs and organizations and really round out my high school experience. And finally, my brother Tyler, who he taught me how to be tough. He was extra tough on me as a kid, especially in high school when we went to school together. I wouldn't say we necessarily got along in high school, but as we've grown as adults, I think we've learned we're a lot more alike than we'd like to admit. But he was always that super protective big brother. So I want to thank all my siblings for your unconditional love and support, and for always looking out for your little sister. So thank you. Next, my mom, who obviously came up here tonight. And now as a mother myself, I see and understand the tireless and often thankless job of becoming a mother and the effort it takes to ensure that your child is as quietly untethered from their potential. So all the thankless things that they do behind closed doors, removing roadblocks you don't even know existed. So thank you for being my biggest cheerleader and also for allowing my dad the opportunity to explore his passion of coaching. So for those of you who don't know, it's not lucrative and it requires a lot of time. And I don't have enough time to really get into my dad's influence and his dedication and to me as a coach, but his constant I'm going to say influence over me has led to this beautiful ripple effect in my life. And I would not be the human being I am today without his influence. And finally, my grandparents were not here, but my grandpa, the quiet observer, and my grandma, who you also heard, could fill a gym with her screams or yells at the referees, but they never missed a game, so thank them as well. A funny story, I actually quit basketball in 7th grade. I was looking to focus on soccer, but at that time, my spirit team, who we learned about a little bit tonight, is the youth program that feeds into Carroll, didn't have enough players. So obviously I'd grown up with these girls playing, so I was like, okay, I'll play one more year just so we can have a season. Maybe next year they can, fill the roster spots up. But little did I know that I believe it was that summer my dad got the coaching job at Carroll and met a really another influential coach in my life, Steve Douglas, who ended up being my dad's assistant for many years, and he ended up coaching my year for AAU. And I was kind of forced to go try out for AAU, and it ended up changing my life. And this kind of just exemplifies my dad's direct and indirect influence he had on a ton of Carroll athletes through the Spirit program, and his ability to turn the program around at Carroll, not make it only an area powerhouse, but a state powerhouse, it still just baffles me to this day. And all the other prolific women's athletes, Katie Streck, who was already inducted, Sarah Vest, we have Kelly Austria, all of these just prolific athletes not only were coached by my dad, but they came up through the Spirit program. And that Spirit program is still, one of the best in the areas today. So honestly, like I said, it just baffles me the influence my dad had on not only me, but the many women who have come through Carroll, and I am extremely fortunate to be a small portion of his legacy. At Carroll, my passion for the game really grew. Anytime we lost, which was not often, you could find me in the back of the bus full on crying. It just really kind of exemplified to me the passion that I had for not only the sports, but also for my teammates, and really representing Carroll as a school. It was a great honor. And as a female athlete, I think you often feel overlooked and underappreciated, but during my time at Carroll, I remember the support of Principal Sins and Mr. Kuntz here tonight, and Dave Clymer and so many others who really lifted our program up. I wouldn't say we drew the most crowds during my time, but the supporters we had were super fierce and super loyal. So I thank all of them tonight who, they're all over right now. And honestly, again, I lost my place. I get it. I feel your pain. And so I think wrapping that portion up is just like, as I just challenge everyone, I thank everyone and challenge you to continue to support female athletes at middle, grade school, high school, because sports teach women's confidence, it teaches them leadership, it teaches them determination, teamwork, all these things that are way more important post sports. So I really just want to encourage everyone to continue to support your female athletes out there. And I would also like to acknowledge my husband. I don't think you're going to get out of this. Although he did not affect my time at Carroll, the ability to go to Carroll and the education I got and the opportunity allowed me to go to Harvard, which is where we met, and we now have a wonderful, beautiful family. So thank you, and I love you. A final story here to quickly go back to kind of my dad. As we actually talked on again tonight, my dad post game we would have car rides. We would often pull film up the same night of a game to review what had happened, and my dad did not hold back. He was very honest with his critique of me, but at the time I didn't realize how much I'd appreciate it. And then there was a time at Harvard I was having a few rough games. I was, I think, legitimately in my sophomore slump. And I remember thinking, I'm going to call Dad. He'll tell me exactly what to do, turn this season around. And, so I called him, and I thought, he's going to put on his coach's hat. Unbeknownst to me, he decided to put on his dad hat. And I remember saying, Dad, what do I do? What do I got to do to get better? I just need to get out of this slump. And I'm paraphrasing, but he just says, I'm not your coach anymore. You know exactly what to do. You're going to get through it. And I did. I trusted in myself, and I got through it. So there are times, obviously, now as you become an adult and times get a little bit tougher, where you just want someone to tell you what to do. You would just love that. And so I try to think back to that time and realize I know exactly what to do, and I will get through it. So I thank Dad for his, his influence on my life and the person who I am today. And again, I just finally want to thank the committee for this extreme honor, and for the absolute privilege to get nominated alongside my father. So thank you.
Congratulations, Brogan. I hear your husband also proposed to you on the Harvard basketball court years later. That would have been a cool story. Oh well. No, that's really nice. An incredibly kind and compassionate teammate. That's how her former cross-country coach describes our next inductee, Katie Ollier, class of 2011. She not only ran cross-country, but also track, and she swam as well, earning 8 varsity letters, 3 of them in cross-country. But Coach John Agnew said she'd have had 4 if she'd run her freshman year. Seems Katie got to high school not realizing how fast she was. She'd come from a dancing background, where she had developed her mental toughness and strength. Coach Agnew says Katie had natural talent, and she combined that with a great work ethic, and that because of her hard work, she improved steadily every year. Among her many cross-country honors, she placed third at state in the very competitive D1 division. And in track, she holds the Carroll record for the 3,200 meters with a ridiculous time of 10:51 and some change. But beyond all of her athletic accomplishments, Coach can't say enough about the great leader Katie was on the team. And at the same time, just how pleasant and nice she always was. It just shows you can have a gentle nature and still be a fierce competitor. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Katie Ollier Chu, class of 2011, to the Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame.
Hello, good evening, everybody. First of all, what an incredible honor to be here and to be wrapping us up a little bit at the end. All of these speeches have been so inspiring, and it's just so cool to me that I'm here. So I will be the first to say that when I started running and playing sports, I never thought that this would be the end result. I joined cross country and track just to have fun. And when I think back on my time, I think of how much fun it was. And I never knew the impact that it would end up having on me. So I joined the cross country team as a sophomore solely for the social aspect. I had friends on the JV team, and that is where I wanted to stay. I started slow. My first few weeks of practice, I did walk and then run and walk and then run. And the first time at Sugar Creek Reserve, I got very, very lost running on the trails because no one told me to read the trail signs. So I think they sent out a search party. I slowly got better. I vividly remember the first time as a sophomore that Coach Agnew told me that I would be running a varsity race. It was one of the Friday Night Lights race. It was at a halftime of a football game. And you would think that I would have been excited and proud, but I was so mad. I went home and told my parents how much I did not want to do it. I told them that I didn't want to go because I just wanted to have fun. But the real reason I did not want to go was because I did not want to leave my comfort zone. But once I was there, I realized that pushing myself and leaving my comfort zone could be fun and rewarding and awesome. And that right there was the first lesson that I learned from running. The next lesson that I learned was to set small goals to work towards the big goals. My coaches were really, really good at instilling that. During races, my race plan was often to close the gap with each girl in front of me and to move up throughout the race. So during my district cross-country race in my senior year, I remember hearing Coach Mike Triola throughout the race saying, close the gap, each girl in front of me. So I did. I closed the gap with each girl, and I somehow kept moving up until all that was in front of me was the Gator that was leading the race. That would have been a very easy place for me to settle in and let up. But as soon as I got into that position, Coach Triola was there again, and I heard him yell, close the gap with the Gator. And that is what carried me through the rest of the race. So another way that running is reflected in life, there's always a way to challenge yourself and to make yourself better. And this can be done by small, attainable steps. So thank you to my coaches for knowing just how to push me. After that meet, for my next race, my dad took the Close the Gap with the Gator quote and drew a little poster. He drew a little me running after a gator and hung it up. It was hanging in my bedroom for years. So that brings me to talk about my parents. Throughout my time playing sports, my parents were nothing but supportive. They were supportive and encouraging in a way that yet I did not feel pressure. They let me do my thing, never making it about themselves or anything else, and yet encouraging to be my best self the whole time. They always showed up for me. They were at so many of my meets. They helped me pursue collegiate running, and I owe so much to them. One of my favorite parts about cross country and track was the team. For an individual sport, it's amazing how much of a role the team can play and how important it is. From summer state camps to long bus rides, long runs with the team, to the team lined up doing the wave every single lap of my 3,200 meter track race at the end of the track. The team sure made it all so fun and worthwhile. You get to know people so well when you spend so much time running with them. Again, that's a life lesson. Even when you're pursuing something individually, it is often a lot better with a team. I'm so thankful for the sport of running. It's something I take with me through my life and has always been there for me. It's led me to my closest friends and the university that I loved going to. It has helped me keep me healthy through my pregnancies and been one of the only things that has made me feel like myself postpartum. It's taught me to push myself and to be okay with being uncomfortable. It is not lost on me that I am still one of the first generations where it's seen as normal for girls and women to participate in sport. I'm so thankful for the women before us who paved the way and pushed for us to be in this space. And I'm so glad that my kids, especially my little girl, will grow up in a world where they will hopefully not ever think twice about girls and women in sports. That is so important, and it's so much bigger than running. So again, I'm so honored to be here. I'm thankful for my coaches, my parents, my teammates, and my family. And thank you so much for the Hall of Fame committee for this honor and for everything leading up to this weekend. Thanks.
Congratulations, Katie. You know, for a high school team, a state championship is one of the most sought after and most elusive of goals. It sure ain't easy to win a state championship in anything. Chris Youngerman tells me Carroll teams have won 5 state championships in the school's 60 years of existence. 4 of them have been in soccer. Yes, you, Coach Mole. 3 of them. Coach Donahue had the other one. And the other one is in wrestling. Tonight we honor that 1998 state dual meet champion wrestling team. Joey Morrow, again my source, tells me they were not a team of recruits or all-stars, but rather a team of best friends and brothers. They may have been the ultimate underdog. They grew up together in the Carroll system, and many were legacy students whose parents had gone to Carroll. Joey says Coach Brian Carter made a promise to the wrestlers at their first team meeting when he took over as coach. He asked us to jump on board and embrace him as coach, and he said, "We will end up state champions." Ask anyone who was witness that day, says Joey, it was electric. Our victory was destined. To all those involved, he says, it would be the greatest sporting event experienced before or since. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Coach Brian Carter and the 1998 Carroll State Dual Championship Wrestling Team for induction to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Hey there, everybody. I'm not one about long speeches. It will be short and sweet. Mr. Riggs, thank you for saying that the first time. All through my life, I knew about state championships. My dad played won a state championship game in '57. So my whole life, people talked about my dad doing this in the state tournament, playing basketball, doing this and that, you know. So I thought, well, heck, I'm 5'6", I can't play basketball. Good Lord. So my cousin introduced me to wrestling, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was about me. There was no hiding out there. It's kind of like now giving a speech. Here, all the eyes are on me. It's not the greatest thing, but it's a heck of a motivator. So my whole life, you know, I heard, you got to go to state. You got to do state. You got to do what your dad did. You got to be there. So obviously that's what I focused on. So I did. I was a state runner-up, state championship in a high school. So I went on to college, did pretty good, a couple-time All-American in the junior college ranks. So when I started coaching, I wanted to produce people like me. I wanted to produce somebody that would fight, that would not let the little guy get picked on. So wrestling, that was it. I was 70 pounds my freshman year. 70 pounds. I was getting picked on left and right. I got picked on my whole life until wrestling came around. So I got a little better. People started hearing my name. I didn't get picked on as much. I had some older friends that protected me. You know, like Joey said, it's a brotherhood, and it runs deep. It runs deep. Before I go on, I just want you to know that I was blessed. I was blessed to come into Carroll when the foundation was already laid. Coaches before me did a great job. The immediate coach before me, Bob Franz, wonderful person, great coach. And then it gets really tough because you got Mark Gerhard, the legacy of Carroll wrestling as far as I'm concerned. He is the man that set up everything for every wrestler in the whole entire Dayton area. He just didn't start Carroll Kids Club. He started Miami Valley Wrestling Kids Club, which has, 80-something teams in it now. So his legacy is a hard one to follow. But with his hard work, it made my job super, super easy. Like I said, Bob Franz laid the foundation. We had coaches like Vince Wiley, Jeff Roberts, with Dan Wilson, Joey Morrow, or Nick Morrow. We got Morrows everywhere, it's all right. So, and it just, the foundation was there. And as Joey said, it was truly a brotherhood. You used to have, when you think about wrestling, you think about me, you think about my spot. I'm going to win that 125-pound spot. This team didn't do that. This team said, you'd be good there. You'd be good there. I'm going to go here, you go there. We're going to be good. They took it among themselves to be great. Parents, they took them everywhere. They traveled all over the country. We're not just talking Ohio. They went down to New Orleans. They went down to Florida, Pennsylvania. We traveled to Delaware. So they put in the time. And the parents took them there every chance they got. So before I end, I would like to take a moment of silence. We had our heavyweight on this team. Benny Sexton passed. Mark Gearhart has passed. We've had numerous parents pass. Terbay's, Borchers, it just goes on and on. It never quits. The brotherhood is filled with love. So before I call everybody up, a moment of silence, please. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to call up individually. You guys come up. I don't know where you want to stand. I guess left, right of me, I don't care. First, Brian Carmichael. Andrew Clemens. Come on, faster, dude. Come on. Bad hips. Jeff Clemens. Yeah, there you go, champ. Nicholas Dolezal. Yeah, I like that. Dr. Joey Morrow. Sean Merkel. Hey, you want this? Maybe. Might be helpful. Might be able to frame that one day. Gregory Terbay. Matthew Western. That's awesome. I love it. Andrew Wiley. Statistician Andrew and Amanda, Strohmeyer. Amanda. And now we go with some coaches. Obviously myself, we'll just put that we'll put that right there. Now, like I said, I was extremely blessed to come into this with these great athletes. The foundation was already laid from our previous coaches, and most of them spent a long time with Carroll, and probably will continue. First one, Mark DeSable. Coach Jeff Roberts. Dan Wilson. And last, most definitely not least, Doug Roscoe Keller. All right, before I end, I want to tell you a nice little story about one of our athletes. Years ago, I believe he's somewhere around the Ohio State area, something like that. Happens to start dating this nice little beautiful young lady. Well, I've seen this beautiful young lady in the stands the last 20, 30 years while I was coaching, and her father was a referee. He happened to referee our state duels match. He's here today, Tony Campola. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. God bless.
It's time for the ring ceremony. So at this time, I want to thank the committee too, especially Chris Youngerman and Julie Staten Malesko for, they really did put in a heck of a lot of work to make this a special evening. And it has been special, hasn't it? Yeah, they deserve a lot of credit, and the whole committee. So, without further ado, Julie Staten Malesko to do the ring ceremony. So come on up, Julie.
Coach Brian Carter, you forgot your certificate. Hustle, let's go. Look at me multitasking. All right. That is my favorite part of the entire Hall of Fame ceremony, is listening to all the inductees talk about experiences that we all have. We all walk the halls. We all remember that, and that's what brings us together. And I love the laughter and the camaraderie that we all have as being part of an athletic team at Carroll High School. Now, glasses, because I can't see. All right. Now the Athletic Hall of Fame will present our new inductees with their Hall of Fame rings. If I can have all the Hall of Famers who are in the room, even if you were inducted a few years ago, please come up to the front of the room so you can congratulate our new inductees. So. Excuse me, sir, do you have your name tag? No. Do we have everybody? Okay, here. Oh, awesome. First of all, thank you, previous Hall of Famers, for being with us tonight. All right. Our inductees will receive their ring, and they will be welcomed by the Athletic Hall of Fame by some of our members here tonight. Receiving for Rob Berry, his wife, Kathy. Receiving for Charlie Keller, his wife Shirley. Stanley Gaither. Terbay. James Borchers. Jason Riggs. Brogan Barry Magnarelli. Katie Ollier Chu. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate the newest members of our Athletic Hall of Fame. In closing, I would personally like to thank Chris Youngerman, the co-chair of this committee. Chris is the backbone. So this is my first cycle as co-chair of the committee. When I was put in this position, Chris and I had one agreement and one agreement only. She would do whatever she needed to do, but she would never, ever, ever speak. So that's on me, so you're stuck with me. So here I am. But I just really want to mention Chris. She's the backbone of this committee and has personally done so many tasks that's needed to accomplish this event. She researches all the athletes. She works tirelessly on the new digital kiosk in the gym lobby. She scans in countless documents. She has all the answers that we all need to know. We all go to Chris. And she keeps the committee on our timeline, which is very important for a million reasons. I cannot thank Chris enough for her true dedication to Carroll High School. Thank you, Chris. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the other committee members who are here tonight. We are missing a few. Mike Hennessy and Don Fortner are not able to be here tonight. Kelly O'Brien Maxwell, Joey Morrow, Pete Williams, and Nick Herron. Thank you very much. I would also like to mention that we will be holding Mass tomorrow morning at Carroll in the chapel at 9:30, if you'd like to join us. This concludes our ceremony for tonight. Thank you for your support of Carroll High School, and as always, it's a great day to be a Patriot.